Hey, Andrew here from the Investor's Way, and welcome to Woody's Weekly Wisdom, episode number 85. And I'm going to do something a little bit different today for the Weekly Wisdom video. Normally, I would dissect one particular article, but what I want to do today is highlight the stock market because let's be real. For the last 6 months or more, it feels like all we've really been able to talk about is cost of living, inflation, interest rates, and everything related to whether or not we're going to get those interest rate cuts or not. And we've got one, and I could, if I wanted to today, dive into interest rates again. If I just scroll down, you see bad news for back-to-back rate cuts, and that's all about the fact that our wages rose, and then inflation data came out, and whilst the inflation numbers are within the range, there was a small tick up of just 0.1% in the one that the RBA looks at. And so that's obviously led to headlines about maybe we won't get back-to-back rate cuts. I think everybody knew we weren't going to get back-to-back rate cuts before we even heard the news. But rather than gabble on again about interest rates, I want to do something this week that is becoming more and more prevalent with the news around the stock market, which is generally in the conversations I'm having with different people is causing a little bit of fear. So let's look at what's going on. And so when it comes to why do people fear the stock market, this page here is exactly why it happens. So you've got this first article that says the ASX slides on Woolworths and Platinum results. So if you were looking at the news today and you saw that, you say, oh, Woolworths and Platinum, that's caused the market to fall. We'll come back to this one. Then if you see this headline, you'd say, well, the ASX falls on latest Trump tariff news. So then it's this one suggesting it's not Woolworths and Platinum, it's tariffs. And then you've got the ASX snaps a 5-day losing streak. So in this one, it's telling you the stock market's rising. So what is it? And why are we getting all these conflicting headlines around the stock market? And the simple fact is because they write about the stock market every day. They've got to give it a reason for doing whatever it's doing. It'd be interesting to see why they're saying this is. But they've got to pin it on something. And the reality is it's never what they pin it on. And as much as you could argue that stock markets, particularly in the US and here in Australia, are falling because of what's going on with the US government, it's not always or even necessarily the case, because stock markets have their own life and they will do what they want to do. And the simple reality is that the stock market, even in the US, is still higher after a week of falls than it was before the election. And I'm not necessarily making any comment there about the worthiness of the result of that election. But the simple reality is that I'm hearing lots and lots of fear-mongering about the stock market in the US, when the reality is it is still higher today than it was before the November 5 election. And so the reality is that once again, the market's hit all-time highs, and it appears that we're in that phase at the moment where we are having that pullback from an all-time high, and the markets are using the fact that there's some uncertainty around what's going on in the US as a reason to cause the markets to fall back. And people are doing some selling, locking in some profits, and that is leading to some panic from others, and that's always the case. Whenever there's a sustained fall in the market, there's an element of panic involved, particularly when it happens in a short period of time, like what we're seeing. And ultimately, what I want you to take from this week's Weekly Wisdom video is that none of this stuff matters for the long term. And just to highlight why I overlooked this one's all about Bitcoin. I'm not going to dive into Bitcoin because it's not a topic I know enough about. I'm not comfortable with the risk profile, and clearly they're having a bad time at the moment as well over there in crypto world. but we're not going to dive into that. But the reality is that stock markets, they go up and down. Sometimes they go down relatively quickly or for a period of days. They never go up in a straight line. They never come down in a straight line. There's always the ups and downs. And really, this weekly wisdom video is about giving you the caution of waiting to see what happens. So if this week just so happens to be the week that you would normally invest, which it is for me, you have the ability to sit back and just wait and see what happens. See in the next week or so if the market stabilizes. Clearly this one here suggested that the market had snapped a 5-day losing streak. And so maybe we'll wait and see what happens today, see if the market does stabilize and head a little bit higher. But the main thing is that we don't want to get caught up in all of the fear in the media and the news about why stock markets are doing what they're doing, because the media are very rarely correct when it comes to why the stock market is doing what it's doing. You only have to look back to August 2024 when the market dropped 6% in 3 days and the media was blaming it on the US economy going into recession or the Japanese economy going into recession, and neither of those things have happened. So be very, very mindful of these headlines when it comes to the stock market, and in particular, the reasoning that they're giving you for these things happening. I'd much prefer you look at the data related to your stock investments and what the company's saying about their future prospects, rather than the holistic view you're getting from the media. Because generally speaking, when it comes to the stock market, they're just making it up. And so in terms of your personal scenario, be cautious at the moment in terms of the market falling. Take advantage to maybe sit on your hands a little bit and wait and see if it bottoms out a little bit, because you are looking for these days where it does suggest that the falls are stopping. And if you get a couple of days of steady market movement, and it's your time of the month for investing, you can do it on those days where it has steadied, rather than trying to chase a market that's falling. And it's ultimately, over the long term, you'll look back at this and say, what a great result that was. I effectively locked in some discounts. And that's not to say that you might invest today and in a month's time the market's fallen even further. That is absolutely possible. But ultimately, we are just taking advantage of these downtimes to buy more stock at cheaper prices. And then over the long term, when the markets recover and go higher again, which they always do, you'll look back and say, what a great result that was. So take that on board. And that is this week's Weekly Wisdom, Woody's Weekly Wisdom, episode 85. As always, if you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button and the little bell to get notified when they come out. Helps grow the channel so more people get to see the content and get up-to-date information of what's going on. And if you're watching on Facebook or LinkedIn, hit the like, comment and share button. Even if your comment is just a thumbs up, just to let us know you were there and you like what we're putting out. It, again, just helps spread the news. Have a great week. We'll be back again next week for another Woody's Weekly Wisdom. And be mindful this week when it comes to your stock investments. We never have to rush them, and we can always take our time if the market's falling a little rapidly. But as we can see here with the Aussie market, there's possibility that it's leveling out this week or today, and you can take advantage of that to place any potential purchases that you might be ready to make. So that's it. Stock market, a little bit different to interest rates for a change, which is great. And we'll see you again next week. Have a great week. Cheers.